Hello! Welcome back, or welcome for the first time to Certified Black Weirdo, well, where we celebrate the weird work of one Black artist. Hey, and I like that tag. Well, maybe we'll use that. My name's Angela Tharp, and we rotate genres. This is our movie week, and we will be talking about the movie centers. Yay! So we'll go ahead and jump into it. Thanks for hanging out. Bye! Hello, everybody. Hope you guys are doing well, good, fine, okay. Any and all of the above, I guess. There's a lot going on. It's very, very cold. I'm in Atlanta, and right now it's like 20 degrees, which maybe where you live is not that cold. Maybe where you live it's very cold, or it's not that cold, but here it's cold. And I used to live in Iowa, where it was like this, like in the winter, it was like in the double negatives. Is that right? Negative double digits, like negative 15. But I thought I escaped it. And it's really cold. But anyway, we're making it. It's February now. That's pretty cool. I feel like January and February are my least favorite months because it's so like dark and cold. But I've been going on walks. That's been very helpful. And yeah, trying to like, even though it's, I read this book, I think it's called How to Winter, but it's about kind of like, how do you sort of like not be miserable all winter? And she was sort of like, the winter is like a fourth of your whole life, because it's like a quarter of every year, almost roughly, I guess, like November, December, January, February, kind of. And so she was like, how do you not like hate all of that time and just feel, like you're going to be okay? And so, yeah, it's just been interesting to like try to do that, try to like have my hobbies, do my things that I'm not like, when will this be over? So that's been helping this winter, but it's interesting. I'm glad we're in February, just moving along. Anyway, we're talking about Sinners today, which is very exciting, a little bit daunting because, I don't know, it's just like a huge iconic movie and it feels scary to like try to narrow it down, but I brought my timer from my like little 1-minute videos here. We're gonna try, it looks like it says 55, which would be very scary, but it says 22. We're gonna try to like keep it somewhat snappy, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm gonna start that. We're at 22. Yeah, but this movie, I mean, when I saw, I almost didn't see it because I thought it was going to be like super, super scary. And I feel like with horror movies, I'm a little bit like it just gets embedded in my brain, and then it's like hard to forget. Like Midsommar, I feel like it's a really good example of a movie that I didn't know was going to be scary, and then I was like, I can't believe I watched that. And I watched that in a movie theater where it was just me in the whole theater and then one other person, and that person left. And it was just me, and it was really scary. Anyway, so I almost didn't see it, but everybody was telling me how good it was. This was like last April, I think. And I ended up watching it, and it's just like, it's it's like Get Out, like one of those movies that's like, this is everything. It kind of makes me feel a little bit like teary thinking about it, because like this is like Black film canon, Black film history. Like this is like, so anyway, I felt like scared to do it, but I'm going to do it. And it was on the list of voting options. So I'm definitely, Native Son won. Even though Atlantis is a great movie too. But anyway, so maybe we could do that next week, because next week is wild card week, where we could talk about whatever. So, yeah, anyway, but I thought we could do this since I think the Oscars are soon and everybody's talking about it. It was this huge thing. I feel like it's like important to like not be too scared. But like, I think typically things that are like really popular in the moment, I'm like, ah! And then when they're like not like 5 years later, I'm like, we should talk about this. So I'm like, okay, how do we kind of like be in conversation with, like, kind of tapped into what's happening and be in conversation with that too. Anyway, okay, we got 20 minutes left. Let's do this. So we'll start with what it's about. I wrote a little synopsis. It's kind of dumb. The way that I wrote it, but I'll just read it to you. It says, twins Smoke and Stack, both played by Michael B. Jordan, come back home from Chicago to open a juke joint, but little do they know they're going to have to combat not just racism, but vampires to keep it open. Exclamation mark, exclamation mark, exclamation mark. Which makes it sound so silly and like not what it is. But that is kind of what it is. And that kind of speaks to how well written it is, that it's not like, it doesn't feel hokey. It doesn't feel like, I don't know, pointless or just for fun. It feels like the super meaningful movie that I like cried the whole time I was watching it, both times, and I watched it again recently to kind of do this, and just, I don't know, it feels it's so well done. And Ryan Coogler, I mean, Black Panther also made me feel that way. That's also like Black film history, and just these movies that are like, they honor Black culture and Black people so well in a way that just is like surprising in a film landscape where I feel like that's like rare, at least for like Hollywood movies. It feels very rare. So anyway, that's what it's about. Okay, this timer is helping. I'm pacing. Okay, so what are some themes that came up? Maybe we could pick a few from my list, but I said freedom and music specifically as like a means of agency. Basquiat, the painter, who I watched a really funny, interesting, I mean, it's not funny, his life, like, you know, it was sad, but like this biopic I watched was like very weird and kind of silly. And David Bowie played, what's his name? Andy Warhol, his like weird friend and mentor. And anyway, it's just a weird movie. But in that, or he has a quote where apparently where he said, music is how, he's like, art is how we decorate space, and music is how we decorate time. And I feel like this movie had music as like a decoration of time so stunningly well. Like that scene where Sammy's playing the guitar, and then every like Black music across time sort of like all conflates into the space, or not even conflates, but it's like all here together, like hip hop and 80s DJing and, you know, 2010s rap and like electronic music, like a la what's his name, Jimi Hendrix, yeah, like you know, like all of these expressions of Black feeling in music across time. Like I know everybody talks about that scene, I love because it's so iconic to think about that. And we talk about how for Black people time can kind of feel like collapse, like you're experiencing like the past, the future, and the past, present, and future all at once. I was having a conversation about this literally yesterday, and how that's both like really daunting and scary because it feels like, you know, the violence, at least of of Black history across the world, like the violence of that is always right there. Like it's always, especially at least like, you know, my experience being in America, like it's echoed in and shadowed in interactions that you have with some white people in the present, you know, and it's like, it can always be there. It's like when you think about police brutality and how that's like the police and slave catchers and the police coming from slave catchers, and like how that violence is like the same. And it's just like, it feels like you're like in this echo chamber of like all of these different times, all of the time. Right. Like I think about how they were protesting police brutality in like the 1920s, you know, and there's like pictures of it and like essays on it. And it's like the same, you know, that was 100 years. It can be really maddening. And like, I think that we tend to think about it that way, which makes sense. But also it can be this expansion of like, we're connected to Black people across time, like both in, you know, if you think about like your ancestors and like spirituality, but also in the music, you know, and how the music of today echoes the music of before and echoes the music of before. And I think that Ryan Coogler in this movie and all of the actors in it, like, did such a beautiful job demonstrating that. And throughout, the idea of music as agency, as music as freedom, as music as like a way to transcend the moment, like the I can't remember what his character's name is, but I think he's nominated for an Oscar. The guy that they like picked up who was drunk, and he was, I think he was playing his harmonica, and then they came up and like they recruited him for the band for the juke joint. And how when they were passing the chain gang on the way there, he knew those guys and was telling a story about how he knew them. And then he just started to like sing this blues song out of that moment. And it kind of like got him past the pain of the memory. It kind of makes it teary. Like, it's just this like, it's not the same as being free, which is important, and like equal rights is important, systemic justice is important, but it's like a means of coping that's so rich and shared that it's just really powerful. Okay, we're at 15. Oh gosh, I gotta stop tearing up and keep going. Anyways, I'm trying not to make these too long, but it is really fun. So anyway, I think music and freedom as a theme, and music as like a means of agency was really interesting. Religion as like, you know, another means of coping, but also one that can kind of like keep people from their own means of coping, like music, playing music, things like that. At least, especially at that time, like it was really interesting. And that scene where Sammy is like, his dad's like, let go, you know, be for the Lord. And he's gripping that guitar handle. And that was also a moment that made me cry, because it feels like you are choosing what you need, even though there's so much pushback, and how brave you have to be to do that. you know, how bold you have to be, like to say, this whole room wants me to do one thing, but I'm going to do this other thing because that's what feels true to me. Like to be that tapped into what you need and who you are and how you feel, I think is really important. So that was cool. Spirituality as like an alternative to religion through the character Annie, who was my favorite character and was like amazing, as is a popular opinion for a lot of people. That was very interesting and cool and woven in a way that I thought was super thoughtful and like meaningful. And then just community. Like I loved Before the Vampires Came, even though I love the vampire part too. And it was just like way more fun than I was expecting. But before that, when they were just kind of like rounding up the group of people, like their team, the gathering of the team to run the juke joint, like I just felt like it honored people so well, and it was really well done. And every character was different. Every character was like well written and deep. I liked that it was sort of like a little bit multicultural in the sense that they had the Asian family as well, and how it was like something that I really appreciated. Wasn't like sometimes I think when movies are trying to be diverse, they bring in like one person to represent a group, you know, but it was like the Asian like storekeepers, the husband, the wife, and the child, who all had different personalities and who were doing different things in the movie. And then, you know, there were the white people that like became the vampires, and also the white people that were the Ku Klux Klan. But like there was like, and then there was like so many, I mean, it was a black movie and there were so many rich black characters and like who were written really beautifully and differently. But like there was not like one representative from any group. It was like a group of, well, except for maybe like the girlfriend, what's her name? The girlfriend that was like white passing, but she was like an eighth black, right? I mean, so she sort of represents somebody who's like multiracial, and she was the only one like that, but like but that was, I think, interesting because she could have been like a white character, like a fully white character, you know, but they complicated her. I just feel like everybody was complicated, and then groups were represented, which made it feel more genuine than if like one person represented a whole group. And that's better than, I don't know, that's better than nothing, I guess. Well, depending. I mean, if you feel like for a black movie, if everybody's black, that makes sense. But I think in terms of like trying to make something a little bit more indicative of like actual American society, having groups, like more than one character that represents a group of people, I think is important, because then there's like, they're not getting conflated into every single like quality of this whole group in one person, you know, and it makes it more deep, I think. So that's cool. Okay. We got 11 minutes left. Let's see if we can do this. What did I like about, I told you some, I'll tell you what was weird about, I'll try to like lump these together a little bit. But one of my favorite moments was when Smoke and Annie, who's played by Wunmi Musaku, who was, yeah, just stunning. I can't believe I hadn't seen anything with her in it before. And I always, even though I knew it was coming the second time I watched it, I always cry during the scene. But like, she gave him like this, like I think it's called Mojo, like necklace that was sort of supposed to protect him, and it did. And like, even though he was in Chicago and there was like all this stuff happening, he was okay, and his brother was okay, and he was kind of like, I don't know, dismissing her spiritual practice. And then she was like, who do you think was praying for you this whole time? Why do you think you're here? You know, despite everything that happened. And then they lost a baby, and he was like, why didn't it work for our baby? And then I just think that like, first of all, I guess making me emotional, but first of all, bringing up that question in here, and like, I think the way that this movie like interrogates faith, interrogates religion, interrogates spirituality, to be like, what is this actually doing? What is it actually for? What's the good in this? What's the harm in this? Like, I think that boldness to question that was in itself like so striking, but especially that when he asked her, why didn't it work for our baby? She said, I don't know, but it worked for you. Or I don't know, but they worked for you, like the things that she was doing. And it just makes me feel teary, because it's like, I think to admit that you don't know how something you believe in works is so rare. Like, you know what I mean? Like, people are typically like, no, it's because, you know, there's a reason for everything. Everything's going to be fine. You're going to be strong. You know, like this sort of like insistence on knowing, you know, how things work. And believing in it like blindly, like in a way that feels like you're just ignoring what's not there, as opposed to here, it's like, I don't like, sort of like admission of like, I don't know how this works. I don't know why that happened. I don't know, but it worked for you, and I'm still believing it because you're still here. Like, I think that honesty was really powerful and important. So I really appreciated that. And then let's see what else. I loved the scene where they all the time, all the music across time was in one room. That had me bawling the first time that I saw it. And then just like kind of just going off of like the Annie character, like the centering of women with agency and wisdom in the movie in general. Like, I really, really appreciate a movie that doesn't just have like a Black woman character or a woman character in general as like a love interest. I mean, this is not a hot take, but like as love interest, as someone who's just there to like, as like an accessory. The same way that I appreciate a movie that doesn't have like a Black character as like a Black best friend who's there to like decorate this, like to make this not a white movie. Like I like when, there's depth, there's agency. Like, I'm not here to serve you. I'm here. I'm your friend, but I also have all this other stuff going on, and I also don't agree with you. And also, I'm not just here to like make your life easier, right? And I really liked Fumi Masaku's character for that, and like all of like the what was I gonna say, like the storekeeper. The way that she was sort of moving and making her own decisions, and then she like had like a pivotal moment in the movie, like the other girlfriend. Pretty much girlfriend, can't remember what her name is. I should have written the names down. But, the way that she was moving, like everybody, all of the women in this movie, like were making choices actively. And I thought that was great. I also think it kind of like seems indicative of the way that Ryan Coogler like thinks of and respects and kind of honors and puts beside him his wife, as opposed to like having her be his sidekick. It seems like from the interviews I've seen and how she produced this movie and the ways that he talks about her and includes her, I feel like he thinks about, I mean, I don't know him, but it seems like he thinks about women, like as equals. And I think that shows. And I think that that's sort of like, in a way, kind of like indicative of like how you live your life as an artist shows up in your art, for better or for worse. And I think for here, it was definitely for the better, which is cool. Okay. 7 minutes left. What else we got? Let me see if there's anything else. I just want to tell you guys everything, but I also don't want this to be so long. So anyway, let me know anything that I missed. Let me know in the comments what you think and what you liked and, what you thought the themes were, etc. Okay, I'm going to move on to what was weird about it. Obviously the vampires, which I loved. I thought it was so funny. And juicy, and like, I liked how the vampires were weirdly like very culty, very colorblind, very like, oh, everything's going to be better if you just come here with us. And I think that like, it was almost like a little bit political commentary to me, in the sense that it's like, this like insistence that we're all one big team and we just forget about, any problems and just come together. But like how that is a kind of death, or it takes death of like yourself to get there, I thought was very interesting. And also I just love the humor in the like horror that really helps me like endure horror, like how they had to eat the garlic to like prove they weren't a vampire, how they had to the vampires had to ask for permission, how they were slowly realizing that someone's a vampire because they weren't coming in on their own. And just the writing in general was really funny and detailed and striking, which I thought was great. And then this is something I love too, that, I think one weird thing about it is like how time works in this movie. And I really loved that. And at the end, I'll try not to give like too many spoilers, but the ending and the way that like Smoke gets should I say the ending, the thing that Smoke sees at the end had me sobbing. The thing, like who he sees at the end, it had me sobbing. And I think it was just like a really striking way to kind of like take a moment that was potentially could have been very violent and made it into something that was like healing instead. It was so well done. Okay, we got 5 minutes left, so let's finish this thing. Okay, what did it remind me of? The color purple for the time period, and just for like before it becomes a vampire movie, like the way that it's like people centered, community centered, like about people who are enduring this time, for better or for worse. The movie The Color Purple, I feel like dealt with like the trauma of that story in a different way than the book. Like it was a little bit more I guess like because it was a Hollywood movie, it was a little bit more like we're just moving along and these things are happening, but like it's kind of can bring you out of the depths of that violence. Whereas this, I feel like it was sort of like had the violence, like what the twins were leaving from Chicago off screen, and we're just sort of like moving through it, like and like seeing the after effects here, as opposed to like being subject to Black like violence on Black bodies in a way that I thought was really helpful and important. But it reminded me of The Color Purple, just kind of like in the vibe. Kind of like look, it's like if it didn't have vampires, I feel like it would be very much a conversation with that movie. Django Unchained also, for kind of like the vampire part, the slasher feeling of it, and especially for like the way at least Smoke kind of gets closure from the racism and like all of the oppression of that time period. At the end, he's given an agency that like he wouldn't. Both of them, honestly, were given an agency that they probably wouldn't in real life. And I think like imagining that is really important and special in this movie. And then Daughters of the Dust, which I don't know if you guys know about. Maybe you do. Let me know in the comments if you do. But yeah, I think that's another movie that's maybe a similar time period. I don't know if Daughters of the Dust is like Reconstruction era. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, but it's just a similar thing of like focus on community, focus on family, focus on these violent things are happening and how do we not move past them, but like endure and like continue to live and continue to find joy and love where we can. Great movie. Okay, 3 minutes. Wow, this timer is really helping. Okay, so some favorite quotes to kind of end on. I liked when Stack was trying to convince Smoke to become a vampire and he didn't, and then he said, "No vision." I just feel like that's like a really funny and smart comeback to someone who like doesn't agree with you. No vision. And then I like how the guy that they picked up with the harmonica, when Sammy was like, I know about the blues too. He was like, I got socks older than this boy. I thought that was funny and maybe true. And then, I liked when Sammy was like trying to talk to that woman and she was like, she's married, and he was like, happily, and he said, she said, "Careful, boy, you're gonna bite off more than you can chew." I just feel like the writing felt both like at times really like associated with that time period in ways that are clever and smart and funny. And then also I liked how, maybe this is a weird thing too, it took some of the ways that we talk today, especially like cussing and everything, and projected it, or not projected it, but like layered it onto that time to make it feel contemporary. That's like, I feel like that was very evident in like Django Unchained too, like how it takes like it doesn't like pretend that this is fully another time. It's not like fully historical, but it like blends that time period and the way people talk, the way people act with today, and it creates like this like hybrid feeling that is sort of like re-underlines the idea that like time is collapsed for Black people in terms of like the past, present, and the future, which is really interesting. Okay, we got 1 minute left. Oh, we love a timer. Anyway, so that's that. I love this. Let me know. I did not get to everything on my little, you can't really see this, but on my notes, because I was trying to like be a little bit more snappy. I mean, not that I need to be necessarily, but I'm like, let me not just go. Let me just try to like highlight things. But let me know if there's things that you thought of or that it reminded you of, or the themes that came up, or what you liked about it, what you thought was weird about it, what came up, like what it reminded you of, felt in conversation with. Definitely let me know all those things. I would love to talk to you guys about it in the comments. And next week is Wild Card Week, which means we can do any genre. I think that is the album, movie. Yeah, that's Wild Card Week. So we could do another movie. We could do Native Son, the punk Native Son. We could do like a music video. We could do a sketch, comedy set. I don't know. I was thinking of Gerard Carmichael's Rothaniel, which is really good. I don't know. Let me know if you have any ideas in the comments. And thanks for hanging out. Oh, 23 minutes, we're doing it. Yeah, so I guess that's all for now. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you soon.